What is going on, guys, and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be comparing the graphics of Halo Combat Evolved to the original Xbox version, because as of recording this, 343 has announced that the MCC Season 7 flight will run for this weekend only, and so I thought I'd take this opportunity to see what 343 has improved for Halo CE so far, as this is one of the highlights for this flight. For the current flight, there are only 5 missions that are currently available, which is the Pillar of Autumn, Truth and Reconciliation, the Silent Cartographer, Assault on the Control Room, and 343 Guilty Spark. In addition to this, 343 has also brought in some graphical improvements for the multiplayer maps. Unfortunately, I do not have any footage from the original Xbox version, as you need another controller to start a multiplayer game. Now, we are going to be comparing 3 different builds of Halo CE. The first build, which is the current flight version 1.2341. The second build is the current retail version of MCC on version 1.2282. And lastly, the original Xbox version via Xbox 360 backward compatibility. I'm not going to include the Gearbox build given that the MCC inherits the same issues, but there will be some areas where I will bring up the Gearbox version. Of course, being the first mission, which is the Pillar of Autumn, there's only one notable change in this flight. The Captain Keyes model is now using the original Xbox version. In case you guys didn't know, the Gearbox version, which then the MCC version inherited, the Captain Keyes model is based off a beta build of Halo CE. Next mission, the Truth and Reconciliation. Something I want to address from Late Night Gaming's video comparison, where he mentioned that there is bump mapping on the ground. When I revisited this level on the original Xbox version, there is actually no bump mapping visible until you shine your light on it, and this is present across all versions of Halo CE. The only notable differences here is that the transparent shaders are now parity with the original Xbox version. In the hangar bay, you may notice that the shields don't look flat and ugly on the Season 7 flight. It is now using the original transparent shaders from the original Xbox version. On the Covenant ship, you can also see that it brings back the original shaders. For comparison, here is what it looks like on the current build of MCC, which is also the same issue present on the Gearbox port. In the prison cell where you rescue Captain Keyes and the other Marines, one thing I noticed is that one of the prison cells where there is a dead Marine with ammo crates and health pack, the shield will now fade out after you disable the shields. In the current MCC retail build, there is no fade out effect. The shields will stay visible after a couple of seconds and disappears instantly. However, in the Season 7 flight build, the shields will fade out just like on the original Xbox version. The next mission, the Silent Cartographer.
The Covenant believe that what they call the Silent Cartographer is somewhere under this island.
Before I mention one notable change here, I would like to mention that 343 did attempt to improve some of the missing graphical features from the Gearbox port long before this season. Notably, the water ripple effect is fixed on the current MCC retail version, but on the Gearbox version it is completely flat. As you guys probably know by now, the bump mapping is broken on the current MCC retail version. However, on the Season 7 flight, the bump mappings is now present on this build. Next mission, the assault on the control room. There are 3 notable changes in this build. In the beginning of the level, you can see that the original transparent shaders have been restored. In the bridge section, when looking at the skybox, the fog effect has been restored on the Season 7 flight build. In comparison to the MCC retail build, no fog is present. This is one of the well-known issues with the Gearbox port, which unfortunately was inherited for the MCC version. In the cutscene where the Chief and Cortana made it to the control room, Cortana will now change color in the Season 7 build. This effect was not present in the Gearbox port and current MCC retail build. In the original Xbox version, this is how Cortana behaves. Just like the mission The Silent Cartographer, 343 also made some improvements to some textures on this level, notably the glass in most corridors. On the Gearbox port, it is completely flat. However, on the current MCC retail build, you can see some actual bump mapping on the glass itself. I would like to mention something that people are bringing up in the current flight is why does it take 15 to 20 seconds for the fog to load in? Apparently, this is a legacy behavior. In this footage here from the original Xbox version, if I move too quickly on this part of the level, I was able to replicate this behavior. I don't know if 343 can resolve this for MCC, but at least the important thing is that the fog effect is back and now the skybox doesn't look ugly. And finally, the last mission, 343 Guilty Spark. There are only 2 notable changes in this build. On the Season 7 build, fog smoke can be seen while moving. This change was not present on the retail build, however on the original Xbox the fog smoke is there but very subtle compared to the Season 7 build. When looking up in the beginning of the mission, you can see vines hanging off the trees. This was not present in the MCC retail build, but does appear on the original Xbox version and Season 7 build. And there you have it, those are the changes on these missions. I also want to mention 2 more graphical changes that I haven't mentioned yet. Number 1, the Jackal shields are now using the original textures. Currently on MCC, the Jackal shields are much more darker than the Gearbox and original Xbox version. This is now changed for Season 7 and is much closer to the original Xbox version. All plasma shields, including Jackal shields, will now turn red if damaged. This was not present in the Gearbox port which MCC inherited. For multiplayer maps, like I said in the beginning of the video, I do not have any multiplayer footage from the original Xbox to compare with. Instead, I will be comparing the two MCC builds. But to summarize the differences here, the teleporters have returned to the original look from the original Xbox version, the lighting has been improved in all maps, and bump mapping is now present on all multiplayer maps. So far, I'm happy about the changes that 343 has done here. Everyone thought that they may never fix this, but they made it happen. And the crazy thing is that I actually never noticed the disparity in graphics until I watched Late Night Gaming's video on this issue. I've played the Gearbox port quite a lot back then, so knowing that 343 is restoring how the game is supposed to look like is a very nice touch on their part. And I hope they continue to make quality of life updates like these for the MCC. I guess my only feedback for 343 is to restore the classic HUD, perhaps as an option in the settings like how you can toggle between the anniversary and classic sounds. What do you guys think about these improvements? Do you like what 343 has done here? Is there anything I missed out? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
If you're not agree, you can walk away. You can walk away. You can walk away. Something in my mind leads me within the